All right, so our notes today, it says number 2, but this is going to be number 3 in our binder because we numbered our homework yesterday, number 2, so we have number 3. And then the quotient, we just said, is the result when the dividend is divided. Divided. So the quotient means we're dividing. All right, now we noticed when we talked about the quotient, it has 2 other words in here, dividend and divisor. Those are going to be important words that we need to know. So quotient means we're dividing, but the dividend and the divisor are important words as well. The dividend is the number that's being split up. So that's the one that's inside that I'm going to split up. So it's the number that is being divided, because divide means to split up. So the dividend is the number that's being divided. One way to remember that, if you're looking at a division problem, the dividend is the one that's in the house. So when I set up a division problem, the dividend would be the one that is in the house. The divisor is the number by which the dividend, which we just talked about, is divided. Barrett, would you mind shutting that door? Just move my little doorstop out of the way. Okay. So the dividend is the one that's in. The divisor is the one that you're going to be using to divide. The way to remember this is the divisor is at the door. All right, sounds like some of y'all have heard this before, right? So what that would look like if I'm looking at a division problem, once I set it up like this, the dividend goes inside, dividend, and the divisor is at the door. Divisor. Okay, so there I would have my divisor and my dividend. Okay, and that little division symbol I treat like a house. That's what I call it a lot of times. All right. All right, so on our long division algorithm here, again, what's going to go underneath the house here? The dividend. All right, and it's the one that we're actually separating. It's the one that we're splitting up inside. All right, one way to think about it is in the house, is it just one big room? Inside of a house, is it one big room? Like in your house, you just go in, everyone sleeps in the same room, everyone eats in the same room, everyone, like the bathroom's in the same room as the bedroom? No, that would kind of be disturbing, right? Okay, so the dividend is what's split up, just like inside your house is split up into different rooms, different sections. Y'all agree? So the dividend, and that's going to be important because on your test next week, there's a vocabulary section. And the vocabulary section doesn't say the one that's in, it says the one that is divided up. So we need to know the one that's divided up is the dividend because it's that house where you're dividing it into different sections, okay? All right, the divisor is the one at the door. All right, it's the one that you're putting into it, right? So it's the number that by which you're dividing. The way that I remember that is if it's at the door, it's wanting to go in the house, correct? So it's at the door wanting to get inside the house. It's the one we're going to use to split that up, okay? All right, and then on top, what's going to go on top of that house? The quotient, the answer, which we call the quotient. Very good. All right, another way to think about that. Raise your hand if you have any brothers or sisters, okay? Okay, good. Awesome, a lot of us in here. All right, so the way I remember how this works as far as the house goes. All right, have you ever, this happened a lot of times when my brothers and I got off the bus together. All right, we would race home, and maybe y'all have mean siblings. I was usually the mean one because I was older, which just meant I was bigger than them and could boss them around, or I thought, okay. So we would race home, and whoever made it home first gets home and locks the other ones out. Have y'all ever done that? Yeah? Some of y'all are like, yes. Some of y'all have been the one that got locked out, correct? So the way that I remember that is the one that's first is the one that gets to make it in the house, which is the dividend. So my dividend comes first because they were first out of the car, off the bus. They made it in the house first. All right? And then my divisor is second because they're the ones stuck at the door. All All right, so you wedge that foot up under the door, right, so they can't open it no matter how hard they push. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Divisor, so they're stuck at the door, and then the answer is still going to be the quotient, all right? Don't really have a good way to remember that, but the dividend and divisor, that's kind of my method for remembering. Jesse?
Could be the brother that's trying to break into the room. That's what I was going to say.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's what my, Leah?
Okay, so how do you...
The only name that I called was Leah.
Have you ever done the tug of war technique, where you're pushing so hard in the door and then you just pull it and they fall? Oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah.
I never did that, but it might have happened to me. So there's
or
that.
they were pulling on it and then you let go and then they
and they fall.
I once got in trouble for doing it to a 4-year-old little sister.
Yeah, for some reason, the little ones always get the sympathy. They just don't understand. My brothers always got the sympathy. They were the younger ones. All right. Okay. Let's talk about some math real quick. My younger siblings are yeah, it's supposed to be like that, probably. All right. Let's talk about this real quick. So long division. These are the steps to do that. All right. Hopefully, you probably are so familiar with the steps, you don't need this acronym anymore. I'm sure you've heard it, though. We're going to, the way that remember the order is does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? All right? And the order that goes, you're going to divide. We're going to start with the first number. We're going to divide. That's my does. Then we're going to multiply, which sounds kind of funny that we're multiplying to divide. Then we're going to subtract. Then we're going to check. Guys, I want to underline, star that step. This is a super important step that we tend to skip over. And if you skip this and something's wrong, then you're going to keep getting the answer wrong. If you remember this step, then you're going to catch a mistake. All right? And then we're going to, burger stands for bring down. Again, most of y'all just know these steps. Just do them without thinking about it so much. And we're going to set it up. We're actually going to follow these for right now. Yes, Nathan?
The B one is easy to remember because you can just think about how that cheeseburger is bringing down your heart rate.
Does it bring down your heart rate or does it bring up your heart rate? I think a cheeseburger would bring it up because the cholesterol, it stops it. Oh, okay, it stops it. I mean, if you have a heart attack, that is true. It would stop it. All right. All right, let's look at number 1. So I'm going to take the 7. I'm going to put it at the door because it got stuck. It was second. It got stuck outside the house. And I'm going to put my 298 in the house. I got to move it down. Thank you, Finley. So that means, look, none of that y'all could see. There we go. All right. All right, so my divisor went out the door because it was stuck outside its last. The one first makes it in the house. All right. So when I start to write this out, I'm going to start with 7. I'm going to divide. I'm not going to sit here and try to think how many times will 7 go into 298. It's a whole lot. That's going to be hard for me to think of, so I'm going to just start with 2. How many times will 7 go into 2? 0. It won't go in, correct? So if you want, I know I've seen a lot of people write zeros there. I'm going to put a 0. I'm going to put it really small, though, because I don't really need it for my answer. Because the number 4, would I say 0, 4, or would I just say a 4? I would just say 4. So if a 0 is in front of a number, unless it's a decimal, we don't really care. But we'll just put a little one there. All right? Since it wouldn't go into 2, now I'm going to look at 2, 9, which makes the number 29. How many times will 7 go into 29? Raise your hand, please. Leah. 4. So I'm going to put 4. So that's my dividing. I divided it and I got 4. Next step says to multiply. So I'm going to take my 4 and I'm going to multiply it times 7. 4 times 7, 28. Okay, so I multiplied. What's the next step say? Subtract. So I'm going to subtract these. 29 minus 28 is? 1. All right, check. What is it that I'm checking? Does anyone remember? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What am I checking? Kaya? Okay, Bailey?
You're checking to see if the divisor is bigger than the
close, I want to make sure this number that we just subtracted, I want to make sure that the 7 is bigger than it. All right, so not necessarily the dividend, but the number that I got when I subtracted. So is 1, and I like to think of it as smaller, is 1 smaller than 7? Yeah, can 7 go into that anymore? No, if 7 could still go into that, that means we didn't pick a big enough number on top. All right, 7 cannot go into 1, so we're good to go. Next step, bring down that 8. So we're going to bring down our 8. How many times will 7 go into 18? 7 into 18. Ashley? Twice. And 7. So now we're ready to divide. We just did the dividing twice. Multiply. 2 times 7? 14. So after we brought down, we just went right back to the top, right? After multiply, we need to subtract. Nathan, make sure you're facing the front. Even if you finish the problem, I still want to make sure that I know we're not distracting anyone else back there. 18 minus 14 is 4. So we subtracted. Check. What am I checking? Can 7 go into 4 anymore? No. So that means we did good. As long as it can't still go in there, we're good. All right. Then it says bring down. Is there anything else left to bring down? No. So guys, I have this leftover part that's a 4. All right. Did anyone, last year I think, did anyone put R's next to that? Okay. So R stands for remainder, so it is what's remaining. But we don't want to just put an R with the number next to it. That's kind of like intermediate school level. All right. We want to step it up. We're actually going to make this a fraction. All right. Y'all, okay, I'm really weird. I like to, when I think about division, I relate everything to the house for some reason. All right. At home, if you have leftovers from dinner, you just leave them sitting on the table. No, you got to put them up, right? All right. Another way of saying that, you put them away, but put them up helps me remember where this goes. Because if I'm putting that 4 up, I'm going to put it up on top of the fraction. All right, y'all see how that works? Put your leftovers up. And then what's going to go on the bottom? The 7. Awesome. So a lot of y'all saw this last year, it sounds like. 4 over 7 is a fraction. If I have a fraction, we're always going to see if it will simplify. What do I mean by that? Leah? We can put any fraction in a decimal. Nora? If I can make it a smaller fraction. And the way we do that, is there a number out there in the whole entire world that will go into 4 and also go into 7? Nope. So that means that fraction is good, and we're just going to circle it. Or put a box around it. Okay? If that fraction did need to be simplified, we'd have to rewrite the entire thing out. Don't just simplify the fraction and put it next to it, because it's the answer just my fraction. No, it's the whole thing. We got to have the 42 with it. All right, let's look at the next one. So again, the number that comes first is the one that's going to go in the house. So 300 in the house. The number that's left outside is my 45. All right. So starting with my dividing, can 45 go into 3? No, so I'm going to put a little 0 there. You'll notice when I circled my answer over here, did I circle that 0 that was in front? No. No, I don't want to circle the 0 in front, because when I say 0, 42 and 4 sevenths. I just say 42 and 4 sevenths, so we don't want the 0 there. All right. 45, can 45 go into 30? No. Can 45 go into 300? Yes, so I have to pick a good number to try. What do we think is a good number to try out? What would be a good number to try? Macy. No. Maddie. Yes.
6.
All right, so let's try 6. And look, I want to make some mistakes. I'm going to make sure I get my white out since I'm using a pen. I need to get some of those erasable pens. That would make my life easier. But pencil does not show up on the TV screen. That's why you'll see me use pen. I don't like pen because I can't erase it, but I will continue to use it. So let's try 6 out. So I'm going to put 6 here. All right, after I divide, I need to multiply, right? All right, so I can come over here to the side, and this might be easier just to do 45 times 6 over here. Guys, if you're doing scratch work, don't erase it, because in a long problem, I might need it again, right? So always leave your work so you can just look back at it. What if another problem had 45 in it? Well, I already have some of the facts over here, okay? So 6 times 5? 30. Carry my 3. 6 times 4? 24 plus the 3. So I get 270. Is that smaller than 300?
Yes.
So I can subtract that. That's good. Could I go higher than that? No, if I add 45 to that, it's going to put me over. I could double check just by writing 45 times 7. 5 times 7, 35. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 3 is 31. So that put me over, correct? All right, how long did it take me to write that extra fact? Less than a minute, right? Less than a minute to make sure that I'm picking the right number. Do you think that might be helpful on a test?
Yes.
Yeah, because we want to make sure we're picking right numbers. Okay, so we did 6 times 45, which we saw over here, was 270. All right, so now I've got to subtract that. 0 minus 0 is 0. I can do 0 minus 7. What might be easier is 30 minus 27 because they're really close, right? If I just look at that as 30 minus 27, what does that give me? 3. Do you see how I kind of simplified my subtraction there by just grouping those numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so I end up with 30. All right, check it. Can 45 go into 30 anymore? No, so we picked a good number. Good job. Bring down. Is there anything left to bring down? No, so this is my leftovers. What do I do with leftovers? Put them in a fraction. Put them up. Put them up in the fraction. So I'm going to put 30 on top. What goes on the bottom?
45.
All right. Can y'all think of a number out there in the entire world that will go into 30 and also go into 45? Joanna? 5. So I'm going to divide these both by 5. And for my notes, I write down everything that I do on your homework tonight. If you don't write that divided by 5, I'm okay with that. All right. So now I'm going to kind of draw an arrow because I'm running out of some space. Do I still need that big 6? Is that still part of my answer? So I'm going to write the 6. All right, on the top, 30 divided by 5 is? 6. Good job. And 45 divided by 5 is? 9. All right, so I get 6 and 9. All right, I did simplify, but I need to see, can I do it again? Is there a number out there in the entire world that can go into 6 and into 9? Barrett? 3. So now I'm going to continue dividing. I'm dividing by 3. Am I still up on the screen? Good. Dividing by 3. So I still have 6. 6 divided by 3 is? 2. And 9 divided by 3 is?
3.
All right. Now that I have 2 and 3, is there a number out there that can go into both of those? No. All right. A good way to tell that won't simplify, 2 and 3 are back to back on the number line, aren't they? 2 and then 3. So we can't simplify it when they're back to back like that. Even if they were big numbers. So like 54 and 55 cannot be simplified because they're back to back. All right. 139 and 140 cannot be simplified because they're back to back. All right. Any questions about that division? That coming back to you about remainders, subtracting? Guys, that checking, that's a big thing. If you look and you can still put that number in, that means you should have picked a bigger number up on top. All right. Are we okay with this? All right, I'm going to pass out our homework. What number do you think our homework's going to get? 4. This was 3, so our homework will get 4. Again, it's 6 problems. 6 problems. Keeping it short and sweet. All right, 6 problems, and we got about 8 minutes, so you can probably get a couple of them done. I can count faster. Make sure you put number 4 on these so you know where they go in your binder. Make sure they're clipped, not stuck in a folder. I'm kind of picky about that, I will tell you. Alright, if you drop your binder and you have a bunch of stuff in folders, what's going to happen to that stuff? It's going to fall out and go everywhere. If you have a bunch of stuff and it's clipped in and you drop your binder, it stays clipped in. You're good. That's why we clip stuff in.